2023 gave us Bottoms, and now Dicks, the musical.
I am so surprised, Alonso, that you and I don't agree on this. This is very surprising to me.
I did not see this coming either.
Half of a locket.
We must be brothers.
Not just brothers, Trevor. Twins. Wow, we're twins. We're fucking identical twins.
You guys subscribe if you're not already. We're getting so close to 25,000, you guys. We would love to have you along with us because who else is reviewing Dicks the musical? Like basically a couple other people, and that's it. So come hang out with us because we will have all of this for you. Even as we wade into award season, we will always do stuff like Dicks the musical. So this is based on an off-Broadway show. They have changed the name of it. It used to be called Fucking Identical Twins, which I guess can't be a title of a movie. So they called it Dicks instead. And the two guys who are in it, Aaron Jackson and Josh Sharp, are indeed dicks, and very knowingly so. They are very over the top macho assholes, and so much of this is extremely knowing, extremely self-aware, extremely heightened, but also with like this weird earnestness within the incredible raunchiness.
Yes.
So they are competitors at this company, and then one day discover that they are identical twins. Of course, the joke being they look nothing at all alike. That is part of one of the many, many jokes here. Very self-aware, like there's an artificiality to a whole lot of it, and that's part of it. They decide, Parent Trap style, to reunite their parents and be a family again because they've both grown up with single parents and they felt so lonely and confused, and now they can be whole. One of them, Mullally, is the mom. One of them, Nathan Lane, is the dad. And it's how they try and bring everything together in song. And this movie hits the beats that you expect from a musical and has the kind of songs that you might hear in a musical in terms of like, this functions to tell this part of the story.
The
and this,
want. And
this moves this part of the story along. And this is this kind of ballad or whatever. But it is so raunchy and it is so wrong. And it has this like feverish kind of crazy energy that for a long time is very fun. It runs out of steam. It is short, but it still kind of runs out of steam. Just the over the top ishness of it all. It reaches a point that's going to really lose people. Like maybe you were on board with it for a while and then it like crosses a boundary. And even for a movie that is boundary pushing and is totally raunchy and shocking and profane and distasteful in 1,000 different ways, it makes a decision that I think is going to lose some people. Bowen Yang as super gay god is not that big of a deal, but it's like some stuff that happens with him that I think is really going to shock people, which is of course the point.
Well, exactly. Yeah. I mean, and frankly, I wish the movie had a little more of that because, I mean, yes, it is going out of its way to be profane, but it does so for me very often in a repetitive way. Like the word pussy just sort of lost its oomph after about the 10th time, you know? I went into this, I was very excited. I love musicals. I knew this was going to be super gay. The reviews out of Toronto were really enthusiastic. And like in the first 5 minutes, I was like, this isn't working for me at all. I found the two leads completely unappealing. And obviously they're playing characters that are assholes, but even playing assholes, you have to want to watch them be assholes. You have to be interested in how terrible they can be. And I just found both of them like immediately, like I was not interested.
And that's a problem then. You're not going to be on board at all. Yeah.
So like Nathan Lane and Mullally show up and they are giving it their all. Like I give them full points for like committing to the nonsense craziness of this movie. But all I could think of was that like, if it weren't them and it weren't being delivered with this level of commitment, how embarrassing it would be for the person playing these roles. Cause these parts are just like, you know, it's just,
they're so weird.
It's so weird. And it's just so trying to like shock you. And that just, it gets really old after a while. And like Mullally gets this crazy pattern number, but the movie isn't mixed well enough for you to understand what she's saying. So she's speaking really quickly, but like whole lines get garbled and missed. Is directed by Larry Charles, who did like Borat and that dumb Religulous documentary, a movie that I agree with the sentiment behind it, but don't like the execution. And it looks shitty. Like this, you know, it's
but intentionally
really,
so.
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to pull off a low budget musical. I grant you, but this movie is just downright ugly, and like the camera often isn't where it should be, and it doesn't have any kind of real flow to the editing. So I don't. I just. I this felt like such a missed opportunity. Megan Thee Stallion, it should be said, her number is like a literal showstopper because
Yeah.
it's the one moment that feels like it works, that feels like it's sort of achieving what the movie is setting out to do, which is to be sort of shocking and funny and relevant. Yeah, I did not enjoy myself. I was really surprised. I really thought this was going to be my jam. Am I still humming the part that you think is going to lose viewers? Absolutely. That was like one of my favorite things in the whole movie. But again, yes, I agree with you. It is going to lose people.
We've not talked about our friends at Riverside in a little bit. If you can see us right now, you're watching all this, is because we're recording on Riverside, which allows us to record in 1080p and fill up your whole screen with our goodness. But a cool thing that they're doing now with Riverside, let's say you have a podcast of your own or social media that you want to put stuff out on, or even just business meetings. They have a thing called Magic Clips where it will take for you what it suggests are maybe some of the best parts. Like Alonso here with all of his incredible insights, I can take that and turn it into like an Instagram story or a reel or a YouTube short, and it's really fast and easy and fun to use. We've got a deal with our friends at Riverside. Take 15% off of your membership with our code breakfast15, so we can have bite-sized little witticisms of Alonso saying how much he hates the movie Dicks.
Or other things.
It's all at your fingertips. So we're happy to be working with them. Yeah. So I was.
Did you have fun? Were you amused?
Having fun for a while. I was having fun for a while. And the Megan Thee Stallion song, yeah, you're right, is different in that, like, it's a real number.
Yeah.
Like the other ones
are
goofing, they're winking, they're self-aware because they're bad. I think the fact that it looks like crap is an intentional artistic choice, because so much of it is meant to be schlocky. There's a running bit with their wigs looking cheap and shitty.
Sure.
And I feel like the whole movie is a manifestation of that ethos.
But there's a fine line between doing that intentionally and just doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think if that's your aesthetic choice, if you're like John Waters making Pink Flamingos, for example, like, then you are getting the most out of that sort of aggressive ugliness. This to me felt like it was shooting for something a little more slick, but they just didn't have the money or the manpower or whatever to kind of put it together. So for me, it didn't feel intentional, but I hear what you're saying.
I can imagine, though, that A24 envisions this as an instant cult classic, because it's like nothing else. There is stuff in here, and I don't want to give it away, but there's stuff in here that I have never seen before and can never unsee, and was laughing hysterically out loud at. There's some really weird shit with puppets. And that was like, oh my God, what am I even watching here? And so stuff like that, when it's in that wavelength, like that really, really worked for me, when it's out there and it's singular and it's really just original and weird.
No, it is definitely setting out to be outrageous, but and often, I mean, is at least, yes, it's not phoning it in. It is trying to be as sort of, wild as possible, but it wasn't working for me, and I'm totally open to this kind of movie, and this particular movie just didn't. I was not having a good time.
What's your number?
I give it like a 2.5 for Mullally and Lane just really trying to sell it as hard as they can. But yeah, and for the Megan Thee Stallion number, that's it.
I'll say a 6.8 because I was with it for a long time. It does run out of steam. Either you're going to be on its wavelength or not. But I laughed out loud a lot. So enough that I think if this is going to be your jam, this is going to be your jam. If you're on its wavelength, but if you're not, forget it.
Fair enough.
Dicks are in theaters.
It's expanding. Dicks are expanding on October 20th.
It's just fun to say.
It is.